Hey, everybody, and welcome. Yes, I already got a thumbs down before it even starts. I guess I just have a way with people. Let's just chalk that up to people skills. Hey, folks, welcome. It is Wednesday. It's Amelia. If you can hear me and see me, please let me know in the chat, and let's just confirm that I'm all good before I get stressed out and my PTSD about technology trauma is just kicking in. Hey, thank you, Keith, for confirming that we are good. What was funny is when I hit the go live button and then I started to see the screen like loading, and I realized the computer that the webcam is still pointed at the ceiling, and then it is a frantic like, oh God, and I'm not sure how much of that you guys could see. But what's up? I have my coffee. I assure you, there is no vodka in there this morning. I feel like I've been away, and I guess I have. I was here last week, but it just feels like I haven't been in my office that much in the last couple of weeks, which I really haven't. But I don't know, feels good, I guess, to be back. Saying hi to the folks in the chat. I see Keith and Margaret and Sue and Jesse. Hey, folks, what is going on? I don't know if it will be a large group today, but doesn't matter to me because you folks are here and I'm having my coffee. I did have a couple of things to just chat about because it's on my list. So if you are watching this on the replay, please let me know that you are here, and definitely participate in the comments below if you are catching up later. So coming up in July, we have the cage fight battle. Chris and I are going to kick off a head-to-head. We call it a battle. We're calling it the name that the crowdsourcing the name is the niche site cage fight. So that is kicking off in July. I'm really excited about it, but also a little nervous because I can't concretely pick a niche yet. I haven't. I've literally been going around in circles like, what about this? What about this? And every time that I think that I have a niche picked out, I keep thinking about it. But since today is June 30th and tomorrow is July 1st, I have to pick something because I need to get the site up and running. So I need to get a domain purchased, get WordPress installed, and have at least 15 posts done by the end of the month, so that Chris doesn't get ahead of me. So I'm going to commit here in the near future to getting the niche picked out. Sue says the hardest part is picking the niche, and I really think that it should be, right? Because picking a niche may be the critical component of whether or not the site lives or dies. Jesse says, you're making a new site already? And the answer is yes, Jesse. And there's Chris, who conveniently just hopped in. Chris and I are doing a YouTube battle where we're basically going to make some rules about how much content can be posted, just so that it's fair, because I think Chris would destroy me with outsourced content if I let him. The purpose for me of doing this was that I had a bunch of goals for my site that I started in January, the MIGA site, and I accomplished some of those, and some of those I did not. So I thought, hey, what better thing to do than to keep working on the site, but also just really try to refocus and do what I had planned to do in January. So that's ideally the point of the July site, but also we just thought it'd be fun to have a battle and then friendly trash talk each other on YouTube for a year's time. Chris says making a new site right now is a really dumb idea. Oh, well, yeah. My goal ultimately is to start 2 sites a year, because in the future, maybe in next year or the year after, I would like to sell 1 or 2 a year. And I'm not going to build and sell a site for full value in 12 months time. I need to have stuff in the pipeline to get there. So that's the main reason why you say, oh, why would you start a new site right now? And I said, well, because in 2023, I want to sell 1 or 2, and I want them to be valuable things, and I want them to be good deal. Like I want to earn money. Let's just face it. That's why I want to earn money. Jesse says, awesome. You know, I make new sites all the time. I do. I do. There's Adrian. What is going on? Thanks for dropping in. So apparently Chris is doing knitting. Keith says that Chris has picked a knitting niche, and I would have to say that if that were true, I still think that that would be a good niche. I think that there's, it rings a lot of the bells. It checks the boxes on a lot of things. You think, okay, who is likely to be out there in the world looking at knitting articles? Probably somewhat, I'm not saying necessarily true, but probably medium affluent folks living in tier 1 countries, like probably. And this, I've checked Google Analytics like daily right now for the MIGA site because I can't help myself. And I was out of the office actually camping, trying to escape basically record-breaking heat where I live. It was on Monday, it was 117 degrees Fahrenheit, which is between 46 and 47 degrees C. And so it wasn't even really possible to be at home. It really wasn't. Like, it was dangerous basically to be anywhere else other than like a cooling center. Yeah, because you could see like this is from like sitting in the river for 4 days trying to not die, basically. Yeah, no, it was incredibly hot. Like, people did die because of the heat. And so I was checking Google Analytics like every single day. And one of the things I noticed is that Google Analytics was dropping data in the middle of the day. And so I immediately thought, all right, maybe Ezoic Leap is doing something to like not load the Google Analytics code, because it was really inconsistent. It was like for 8 hours here and like 4 hours here. And you guys will laugh, but selfishly, the thing that bothered me most about it is that it was going to ruin the beautiful graph that I was going to have, like to take the screenshot to put in my 6-month update. I kid you not, because the graph is so beautiful. Like, it just makes me happy. It's like art. It's like art, right? And so I was like, oh, Google, you're Zoic, like, you guys are killing me with this thing. So I like got on support and like message these Zoic people. I'm like, did you guys change something with my settings? And they confirmed that that it was all good, that it wasn't doing anything different. And eventually I think it was just a bug with Google Analytics, because it eventually filled in those holes. So I was appreciative that the Ezoic people, the support people, responded to me and confirmed that everything was good. And then the Google Analytics people, the Google, fixed that. So my graph is still beautiful. So I'm so excited to screenshot it for my upcoming 6-month update on the MIGA site. And I'm super thrilled about it. Let's see. Sabina says, I'm babysitting and it's not going well, so I'll mostly catch the replay, but pop in and out. Yeah, don't worry about it. You are always welcome to go in and out. Keith says, question, thoughts on Ezoic Premium? I got my invite today. I'm thinking monthly instead of annual. Don't like being locked in long term. I'm not currently using Ezoic Premium myself. I've been invited to it and tried it out, and I'm just not using it right now because I don't think it fits my business. I think there are situations when it makes a lot of sense. Like, let's say you have a site and you are making obviously enough money to pay that premium fee, which we all kind of like don't like, and you know that that site may not go anywhere else in the near future, or you're just really happy with it being on Ezoic. Like, I think John Smith, that he was like, yeah, I'm never going to move it from Ezoic because the RPMs are just so good. And he's like, I'm afraid, like, what if I move it and I lose that? Because he's just so happy with how it's doing. But it's not for everybody. Like, I get that. Jesse says, I've never been crazy about the contract either. I'm actually still in one with them. Yeah, I mean, you could do the annual thing. I mean, it's, I guess, if you're thinking of moving your site soon, like if it's on a trajectory where you see yourself moving the site, then it wouldn't make sense. But if you don't see yourself going anywhere, I mean, it is saving some money. Yeah, John Smith's are off the charts. Yeah, I basically like consume everything that he publishes and just eat up basically everything because I want to be able to do what he does, like totally. Margaret says premium, she gets better analytics. And for me, I'd never really noticed that. So it could be because I'm just not in premium. I literally, and mostly because I only focus on one thing. I mostly just look at how much money I made, the RPM for the EPMB for the site overall, the RPM for the pages, and then how much each individual piece of content earns. And then I pretty much ignore like the rest of it. So yeah, anyway. God, what was I talking about? Oh, yeah, new site coming out in July, the cage fight site. So yeah, I still haven't picked a niche yet. Adam last week got me thinking about going down the whole like legal route, which I really avoided thus far, but I've really started to think about how easy that would be if I could just find the right keyword like cluster to get after. But here's the thing. I'm really concerned about topical relevance, and here is why. So in the MIGA site, I swore up and down that I was going to be really, really conscious and just stay like on topic, right? And that I wasn't going to let myself get distracted by juicy looking keywords that might be related, maybe, or I could like, strong arm them in. And I just did it. I literally I don't want to say wasted, but I spent probably like 1 to 2 months working on a shoulder keyword cluster for the MIGA site that I thought was close enough, but it just looked really good. And not a single one of those articles is doing anything. I can post new content, so that's pretty closely related to the other like functioning like keywords that are getting traffic. Those are getting traffic like right away. But this other arm, I'm like embarrassed to even say how many posts it is because I honestly don't know, because it's a lot. And none of that stuff is getting any traction whatsoever. So in looking at the new site, like the cage fight site, and thinking, okay, if I go down like the legal route, whatever I do, it has to be closely related enough, because I just don't think you could cherry pick like one topic over here and like one topic over here and one topic over here and one over here, and then just trust that the overarching like umbrella of legal or like legal question is going to be good enough to where those articles will all rank, right? Because I had this happen with the MIGA site where I think that all of the articles fall under the umbrella of the topic of the niche, but there's just that other cluster. It's just somehow not related enough. And I feel like I wasted so much time. There's Alexander. What's going on? Jasper, what is going on? I feel like we haven't caught up in a while. It's good to see you. Keith says, for that silo that doesn't get traction, is it worth moving to a new site? That could be the answer. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do what Banu suggested, which is give them time. So if in 18 months that silo was still completely dead, then I think that Keith's thought is probably the answer, because I still think that the keyword research is good. Like I still think that those keywords have a lot of potential and they still could do things. They're just not doing them on the site that I have currently. Also, I'm looking at the smash the like button moment. If you're there, there's 13 of you here. Please hit that so that it makes my heart feel fuzzy. I don't really know that it does anything with YouTube. It just makes me feel nice. Jesse says, sounds like you went full steam ahead on a cluster. I usually test out 1 to 2 topics for several clusters that don't fully exploit one until it returns results. Yeah, that's the thing though. When you have a brand new site, I mean, nothing may happen for months, even with 1 or 2 articles. And so it's sort of like if you're going to launch quickly with a lot of articles, like there's a lot of hope, praying, trust, belief, faith, guessing, hoping. Did I already say hoping? It's like gambling, I guess, in a way. Is you gamble and you say, okay, is this going to take off? I really hope so. And in year 2, absolutely, I think that will totally work. Test a couple articles and see what happens. But when you're first starting out and you have no traffic, well, how do you, like, I don't know. You won't really know. Jasper says he's doing great. Lots of things going on this month. That is awesome. You know, it's, I think, pretty easy in this business to get bogged down in maybe how I'm doing, like how we are doing on a day-to-day basis, like looking at numbers or just looking at money. And so keeping like a positive attitude and staying focused and building momentum for us, like it's really hard. So it's cool to see you working and getting stuff done and sounding positive. Jesse says, we're all just fumbling around in the dark. We just get used to it over time. Ain't that the truth? Let's see. One of the things that I wanted to tell you guys about that, and just as well, I feel like I'm all over the place today because there's so many things I want to talk about. One, and I guess I will tie this into the story, is that I noticed recently that one of our colleagues who is here on YouTube, who is working on sites, he has a small YouTube channel. He was going under the name Income Grinders and then recently switched to his name, Eric Everman. I noticed I got a notification on my phone that he's now doing live streams. He has, it looks like his show is called Side Hustle and Coffee. So I can totally like appreciate anybody who wants to stream and drink coffee. And I would just say, hey, like, welcome to the world of streaming. It is not as scary as people think it is. And in fact, it can be quite enjoyable, assuming you have something to talk about. Otherwise, you're like, don't worry, I'm going to connect this up here in a second. So that happened. I saw that. But also to the benefits of having a YouTube channel and growing a YouTube channel, because I was recently contacted by John Gillum, who I have met and interviewed on my main channel. And he occasionally will touch bases with me about products or services that they're working on or launches. And so they have a new tool. They're calling it Speedy. Well, it's on the speedy.site. That's the URL. They always have these interesting URLs. But they asked me to test out their speed optimization service. And so we've been talking about it literally for a couple months, and I've dropped the ball multiple times because I've been crazy busy with the new site. But I finally actually went through and implemented it on one of my garage sites that's sitting like basically waiting for me to get back to it and work on it. And I swear up and down always that I'm going to get there. But it's nice to have that garage of stuff, because when people say, oh, hey, do you want to try this out? You're welcome to. And so speedy.site, it's a service, and I'm not an affiliate for it right now, although maybe in the future I will, but it's like a done for you service. So for folks who are like, this web optimization, the speed optimization stuff is like really overwhelming. The price tag on it is currently $299, but it's a one-time fee, and they claim to do a lot of stuff. And so I saw the list of stuff. And basically, so far, all I've had to do is give them login information for the site and then sit back and then just wait. So how's it going to play out? I don't know yet, but that actually was happening while I was because we went camping while it was super hot. So I was like on my phone, like reading emails and like, you know, basically they're taking care of everything. And I'm sitting there like, I really hope this works. People are like really fired up about spending as little as money as possible to deal with tools and troubles. But, you know, if speed is a real trouble for your site and you really want to have somebody else do it, like maybe that price tag is like a drop in the bucket against the pain of having to deal with it yourself. So I'm super curious and excited to see how it plays out. I will definitely come back and report it. Sabina says, my traffic is finally recovered after indexing issues. It's back to April numbers. I hope, Sabina, that it even goes above that, not just back to April, but beyond. He also, Keith says, streaming, I find it hard enough to do ordinary YouTube. Well, Keith, what you will find when you start streaming is that streaming is actually easier than doing ordinary YouTube. I take between like 4 and 8 hours to make a pre-recorded video. And I know when you look at the production quality of what I create, it honestly doesn't seem like it, but it really does take that long for me. Whereas streaming, I will sit down in advance of the stream just a little while and then, you know, have some backup topics about what to say. And then you just hit on. And then when you're done, you just turn off. And then that's it. Like, it's way easier than making videos. Jasper says, I had a similar problem. 29 out of 40 articles just weren't indexed on one of the new sites. Yeah, it's really common, and a lot of people are having to spend a lot of time in Google Search Console, myself included, trying to manually index those. Ultimately, I'm hoping that it's helping or it's working, but sometimes it's hard to know for sure. Keith says, good point regarding streaming. I say, yes, it is definitely less of a time suck, and it might be stressful while you're on the stream, like while you're on, but then it's over, and then you just go about your day. Hey, Dee, what is going on? Thanks for dropping in. Jasper says, after manually indexing, I did see a few organic searches coming in, so I'm hopeful. I definitely have seen improvements since I have been spending time working on manual indexing the articles that seem to be either popping out or just Google is wrong. It didn't actually have them indexed like it thought or it was telling me. And it seems like when I actually started putting time and effort into doing that is when I started to see some more obvious jumps in traffic with the new site. Speaking of the new site, though, I have 6 months. Today's the 30th, which means that today is the last day of collecting data on the new site. And then maybe tomorrow or the day after, I will be making the 6-month wrap-up video, which I'm super fired up to make. And one of the things I wanted to see is, I don't have like products or like gifts or games or prizes, but thinking about, all right, like, can anyone or does anybody want to maybe make some estimates as far as maybe traffic and earnings for the MIGA site for the last 30 days to see what it ends up as? I know I kind of flashed my phone recently, like, like, but does anybody want to guess where it ends up? And if anybody guesses it within, let's say within 500 page views, we'll go page views for Google Analytics on my phone. So if anybody can guess it by the time I create and post my 6-month video, then I'll think of a prize. I don't know. I will talk to folks like I will do, I don't know, a Zoom chat or site review or something if you guys can guess. So that is open to folks who are in the live chat right now and folks who come onto this on the replay, so long as you get your entry in by the time I post that video. So Adrian says, I'd say an increase 20 to 30% from last month. Well, give me the number if you can remember it. And I guess I can go back and tell you what last month's were and give you a place, because that way I won't have to actually do the math. Oh, let's see. It's going to take me a second to get there because I did not have that open. But I would really like to know what you guys think as far as where did I get to. He says page views, sessions, or users. Let's just go with page views to make that easy. Alexander says last time was making 20 cents a day on Ezoic and now almost open to $3. That has to feel good. Seriously, that makes me so happy to hear. Like it's such a great feeling to see a site growing. So the numbers for May of 2021, we had 3,489 users and 4,672 page views. So that's what we're talking about. Last month in May, we had 4,672 page views. So if you're going to put in your entry, your guess, to see if you could try to win something, maybe nothing, or maybe just the glory of being a really good guesser, we're going to go with page views and then see who can get the closest. And if somebody gets within 500 page views, then we'll talk about a prize. We'll think of something. Adrian says 6,200 page views. Thank you for your entry. That looks like the math. Anyone else? Jasper says, wild guess. I appreciate wild guesses. I appreciate people who are participating. Yes, for June. Jasper says 7,200 page views. All right. Then Keith says, how do you feel this month went for you? Asking for a friend. Well, I would hate to give away too much because I don't want to influence the entries that have already been entered. D says 7,000 page views. I will say I'm looking forward to making my 6-month video and sharing the last month's progress. I'm really excited about it. You can see that from, like the beaming through there. He says worth a try. Bonnet says 9,500 page views. Did I say that? He's like shooting for the moon here. Like we're going to the moon. Oh, Will, he says 10,243 page views. Did you like hop on? Do you know my site? Are you like going onto Ahrefs to make your educated guess? Margaret says 6,800. Can't wait for the vid. I cannot make it. Hey, Eric, just have time to say hi. We already shouted out your Side Hustle and Coffee live stream earlier. I told everybody that they should go and catch you and support you as you start streaming, which is awesome. Yeah, Will's guess was very specific. And so I'm just wondering where his numbers are coming from, I'm not saying that he's right or he's wrong. It's just like a very specific guess. And I'm like, have I been hacked? I do not know. But later on, so maybe next week's stream, I'll go back and look at the entries and then call out who is the closest of the guessers. There's some folks here on the live stream who haven't entered a guess, and that's totally okay. Lurking is not my favorite, but I don't mind. But I do enjoy folks who are willing to jump in and participate. One of the things I did want to mention that I also did recently is I checked Google Analytics because, GA was giving me a hard time, and I actually looked at my 2019 case study, which I've basically called a fail, and I don't want to say given up on, but mostly given up on. And a couple of months ago, I'd actually worked on a couple of the older posts, just, taking some of the new knowledge acquired in the last 12 months and applying it to some of my old posts. And then I just forgot about it. And I went there today just because I was like, oh, I wonder how that site is doing. And some of the articles, like especially one that I had gone back and not really added new content to, I just revised and I felt like a better job with the H2s and just, updating was actually in the top 10 of my articles for the site. Like it went from getting like a couple of visits a day to being in the top 10. And I was surprised. I was looking at it like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And then I was like, oh yeah, that is an article that I had updated. So it does really make me think about returning to the site and trying again to see if I can rescue it. The thing that I was noticing though, as I was going through the articles, is that the EPMB or the RPM on the articles at the individual level is just really, really low across the board. And they are on topics that I could have sworn would have done better. And I'm just wondering, and I would love to hear what anybody else thinks about it. Just the top like 7 or 8 articles on the site that get the bulk of the traffic are very low value articles. And so I'm just wondering overall that maybe those articles are pulling down the rest of the site, and wondered if anybody else has any thoughts about whether or not that is possible. Because then you could say you could apply that in the opposite. If you had your top 2 or 3 articles were really high earning articles, could it pull up the rest of them? And so I'm wondering if that's true, then maybe like pulling off those articles that are the low value articles, just to see if you could rescue the remainder of the content, or if it's just too late. Like if it's the site is just, I guess, ruined because of those article topics that I decided to test and try out on and just happened to be the winners. I don't know. Let's see. Keith is finally making his guess. He says 6,750 page views. Thank you, Keith. D says, is Adam lurking? I say, well, maybe on the replay, we know that he does lurk. And if he is here and not commenting, we'll never know, but we can just shame him live. And then Stig says 9,999.92, and he wants a kazoo. I could also use a kazoo. I have completely lost my sound effects. My children stole my harmonica, and it's like, I don't know where it went. Adrian says, do you guys like the new Search Console Insights feature? What I find is that I dislike the fact that it's like there. And it's there every time I want to see the data that I want to look at, and I have to scroll down below it. I'm like going to look at it now. Site analytics for content creators, search. So I click on that, and then it brings me to site overview. So my past 28 days. It says I have a suboptimal setup. Tells me how many clicks I got from Google search, and it tells me the keywords, which I felt like was pretty similar to what I would get if I clicked on the performance tab. I mean, I know where the clicks are coming from, and I can switch that to the last 28 days. So for me, I guess I'm not getting like a whole lot of value, although I'm wondering why my Google Analytics account setup is suboptimal. So I guess I don't have anything really exciting or positive to say about it, but I would love to throw it to the chat to see what other people say. Margaret says, are you saying that the low value articles are affecting the RPM of new unrelated articles? I'm saying that that is my concern. I'm just saying that potentially, you know, a site that is like down and out maybe is not rescuable because it is sort of set the floor at maybe a lower level than maybe I would if I started over with some of the similar content that just wasn't already like dealing with this suboptimal, because that's the word that I now have in my vocabulary, suboptimal floor. I don't know. I'm just wondering if anybody else has any thoughts about that. Keith says, yeah, it's nice to highlight the key insights, but nothing beats taking a deep dive every few months and making good data-driven decisions about. Definitely, like what he said. That's good for taking a quick look, in my opinion. We're talking about Search Console Insights. And I guess what I do when I get into Search Console is I click on performance, and then it shows up automatically with the last 3 months data. And if I put in last 28 days, I feel like I guess it doesn't do well, I guess the top 5 are the same as, so yeah, for me, it's pretty much the same thing as going into the performance tab and clicking the last 28 days. And I basically get the same information, but it does deliver it more quickly. So it's just 1 click versus 2 or 3 clicks. D says, Keith, your next video, how to make sense of Google Analytics. Definitely. Wonder what it means by suboptimal. My guess is probably that it wants me to connect up Google Analytics to Search Console, and whatever the process is to do that, I just haven't done it. That's probably what it wants. Jesse says, I don't think so on the low value articles. He says, I have a site with 300 low value articles that I bought. It's growing fine as I publish my own content on it. So then the new articles, though, that you're publishing, those get an RPM or an EPMV that you would expect. So it isn't like similar to the low value articles. I just really thought that some of the, and this could be just my assumptions about the traffic, that and it's hard for me to really fully communicate this to everyone without actually, you know, sharing the site and then the keywords. But there were just some keywords and articles that seemed to me that would have been more value because of the location of the traffic, you know, tier 1 traffic, product focused, like all of the things that I would have thought of that would have had a higher value, and the RPM for them is, you know, a couple of dollars. But then that makes me wonder, you know, maybe the fault is not necessarily the content. Maybe the fault is me, and maybe I need to do more work to dive in there to look at optimizing the ad placements, and maybe I just need to do more, and maybe that's my own fault for just being completely neglectful. But I don't know. I wondered if anybody else had any thoughts about it. Keith says, yeah, it's only a couple of permission giving clicks. I was okay with that considering both entities are owned by Google. Jesse says, Google ranks pages and your RPMs will be on a post-by-post basis. My articles are still new on the site, but I fully expect the high RPMs that I'm used to. Cool. I would love to hear how that plays out. I mean, I totally agree with you, and I hope that that is the case. I'm just super curious is can you take a site that has a historically like long-term, really low RPM on its content and then post high value content that should get a high RPM on that same domain and then get the RPMs that you would expect. So I look forward to a blog post or an article or anything about that, updating that as it goes on. Accountability moment, it's on my list. So for the MIGA spreadsheet, we are headed into July. So if anybody wants to jump in and either start a site with us here in July or just, hang out with us and talk about how their progress is for the month, it's a small group, and I'm enjoying the folks who are in there. But accountability moment for me, my goal for the month of June was to get to 50 posts of content, and I only made it to 25. And mostly that is because I've taken almost the last 2 weeks entirely off from work. I've been camping with my kids and just being out in the world, which is why I look so tan. And I can't bring myself to regret it, to be honest. I've been really diligent this year, and it has been really good to be out in the world with my family. But it doesn't change the fact that my goal for this particular site is to get to 500 posts in the year of 2021. So I'm just going to have to figure out someplace else to buckle down and make that happen. So that's just me putting it out there into the universe that my goal is still 500 posts on the MIGA site and is not going to be changed by the fact that I'm starting the site with in conjunction with Chris here in July. And I just got to figure out how to make that happen. Jesse says, I'm going to do a 6-month update on that site, which is very cool. I'm looking forward to it. He says, I've already increased the revenue 400% in the last 3 months. 400%. That sounds like an incredible number. And I will be trying to be the first one on that video when you get around to posting it, because I can't wait to hear about it. Stig says, rock on, Jesse, and I agree. Will says, when adding a second site, do you create a new property or a new account for it in Google Analytics? I just do a new property. I have one Google Analytics account associated with my Google account, and then I have all of my properties in there. They're all in the same place. Does anybody else do it any differently? I would be curious to know. I mean, I know that if you're planning on selling the site, you can transfer properties, because I have bought a site and then taken the property from someone else in Google Analytics. So I don't see why you would necessarily need a separate site unless you were doing something that you didn't want Google to necessarily know that they were associated with you. Not to say that you're doing anything shady, but that I would not say that at all. I just wonder if there would be a good reason for it. And if so, I would love to know it. Jesse says, it'll likely be a post on my blog. I've been active there lately. Yep, I get your posts in my Facebook feed and I read them. I do. The last one that I read was the one, Jesse, where you did the 15 or 20 ways we could call ourselves, if not bloggers, so that people might understand. Some of them people don't understand, but I appreciated that because I'm always struggling with how to quickly explain to people what it is that I do and my job title. So I appreciate that. Will says, if you do a new property for it, can you transfer each property individual if you sell each site? Yeah, if that makes sense, it does. Yep, you can transfer the property to other people or to other accounts. They don't make that terribly difficult at all. So Stig says, quitting your job is looking like the right choice, Jesse. Hey, it is a scary thing, right? To jump out and say, okay, I'm going to trust myself and do this to work for myself. But I've been really fun to watch Jesse do it. Keith says, I do new properties, easy to transfer. If you sell, add the buyer as an admin and then remove yourself. There you go. There you go. For me, I just like having them all in one place so I don't have to log out and then log in. I go to analytics and then they're all there. So I can quickly and easily cycle through them. So One of the things I did want to mention, just back to the world of speed optimization, on one of my sites, I was getting really bad numbers on my CLS for the cumulative layout shift, and PageSpeed Insights was telling me that it was the Ezoic sticky ad, the footer ad, and I got on the horn with them and was telling them about it, and they didn't necessarily believe me that it was true, that it was their ad. And then recently I got a note from them that they were actually pushing out an update for that particular ad to resolve the CLS issue. And I had wondered, one, for, to the chat and the people on the replay, if anybody else had a CLS issue because of the sticky ad, and if they are seeing any differences. My CLS for mobile has been improving after that update, and I just wondered if anybody else is noticing anything different. Will says, gotcha, I thought it may complicate it with AdSense if they're all in one account. I mean, AdSense, you have all of your properties in one account anyway, right? Because per terms of service, we're only supposed to have one account. And so they're totally cool with like a lot of properties transfer in and out of AdSense. But I don't know, I've always had them just all of my properties in one AdSense account, and then all of my properties in one analytics account. Keith says a seller will add their own Google AdSense account code. They're not transferable. Yeah, you don't transfer the AdSense account, although people do that. They're not supposed to, but basically you have to remove the AdSense, the site from your AdSense account, and then they basically move to add it and have it pretty much reapproved. And that's the rub about AdSense, is sometimes a site that was in AdSense and totally approved and is earning can't get reapproved during the sale, during migration, because maybe something has changed, or maybe content is on the site now that wasn't there, or just the reviewer is different, which can be a huge bummer in a site sale process, because then the seller will have a hard time getting that property back into their own account if the sale, if the whole deal breaks down. And so then that site needs a bunch of work before it can once again be approved for AdSense. There is Julie, Wonder and Wonder, made it. I feel like we haven't seen you in a couple weeks, and I feel like your name is Julie, and you'll have to remind me if I got it wrong. Adrian says, I had a friend who had 60 sites in one account. One site got a manual penalty. In a few days, they all got the same manual penalty. Now that is strange. And that makes you wonder, one, was the same issue on those sites, or was it wrongfully applied? And is that a reason that folks should try to have multiple accounts? I mean, I don't feel like I have enough sites to really think about it. But I guess that could be something. If you could actually connect that up. This is me putting my memory together and actually remember Julie's name. You must be. You must have made an impression upon me, because sometimes names are pretty hard. Keith says, risky if they do transfer. Google could shut it down at will. Yeah. Yep, this is beyond me. Basically, I just have one Google Analytics account, one AdSense account, and then just do my best. All right, so let's talk about July. I would love to hear updates about how everybody's sites are doing, and also the plans for the month of July. I know a lot of folks are going into vacation time. Some folks whose kids are not in school right now for summer won't be working that much, but July for me is hopefully a buckle down month. So I have the new site launching, where I have to actually pick a niche, buy a domain name, and then get it set up and get 15 articles on it by the end of the month. And I think, what did I put in the MIGA site? I think I made myself a more reasonable monthly goal for the month coming up, just because I want to get the new site up and running. What did I say? I said 30 articles on the MIGA site, which is still going to challenge me, but I think that I can do it. I went and basically made a list of the next 200 articles that I need to post, and I'm sure I won't stick to that at all. But what are you folks planning on getting done this month? I would love to hear it before we log off so that we can check back in a week's time and see how that was. Also, if anybody else wants to enter in their guess for how many page views the MIGA site got in the month of June, please go ahead and put that in the chat now so that you can be entered into basically a contest with no real like reward or prize, just I guess bragging rights. And as a reminder, in the month of May, the site did 4,672 page views. So you can use that as your jumping off spot. And you can scroll back in the chat to see other people's guesses. And I have said that if somebody got within 500 page views, I would think of a prize of some kind. We'll see. Let's see. Keith says, in July, my focus is growing my writing team and writer access. It's a slow process, but will hopefully be worth it. My output has been much lower lately because of it. That is a good goal. Jasper says, was hoping for a nice Google birthday present this month by giving back some of my traffic. Didn't happen. Dang it. For July, I'm going to leave my main site be and focus on newer projects. Yeah, I mean, it's a bummer. But it seems like you poured the last like seven months into it, and it doesn't seem to be recovering. And at some point you say, okay, maybe it's time to take some knowledge and then move on. And maybe it is that time. Stig says kazoo. Well, we'll see if somebody gets within 500 page views, and somebody may have. I'm not saying that any of the guesses are right or wrong. I'm trying to be mysterious enough. Maybe there will be a kazoo in it. Julie says, I'm setting up my second site. We'll try to keep pace with you and Chris. Well, we're only doing 15 articles a month, so I feel like that should be reasonable. But I could be wrong because people's lives are very, very, very different. Jesse says he's giving himself a vacation in July, which is pretty much what I did in June. I took pretty much half the month off. He said, so I'm only working half the month. I'm going to hit publish at least twice a day across the portfolio. Margaret says she is just boringly repeating June, but if I look to see what you did in June, my dear, Margaret, her goal in June was to give some love to my older site, so scaling back to 2 articles per week on my MIGA site, but it sounds like there was a lot of work done, like an incredible amount of work done in the month of June. So it's hard for me to agree with you when you say boringly, because I think of that as exciting. And yeah. Wanted to give some shout outs to folks who are in the MIGA group for the month of June. By the way, Sabina is in there and has really gotten to work and is doing a lot more content creation. She didn't make it to her goal for the month of June like I did, but still is making progress, which is awesome. Jasper, we've talked to today. Sue has definitely been getting some work done. I know she hasn't been in the group too much, but Sue, I can always trust to be working. There is Jay-Z. I wanted to give him a quick shout out. His goal is to get to 600 articles on Site 1, and I'm scrolling to see, did you do it, John? Did you make it? He had 2 articles to go as of the 27th. And he was at 58 posts as of the 28th. And on the 29th, so yesterday, he looks like he made it. So congratulations. Supriya, I'm not sure if I got your name right, friend, but he just joined in the last month and with a goal of 50 posts and has been active in the group and doing some work. So it's cool to have you. Patrick Poe, who, again, I've shouted out before, has been in the group and has been working consistently. And it's been awesome to see him. I'm so happy to see him. So it's been really great. Stig says, Chris is a monster and has no kids that he knows of. I would not want to go up against that. Well, here we go. It's happening. He says he's rooting for me. Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to go up against me either, so we're going to see what happens. Hey Zach, what's going on? You're catching us basically just as we're getting towards wrapping up, but you have to let me know how things are going for you and what's going on in your business because we haven't touched base in probably about a month or more. Jasper's got to go. It's been great chatting with you and having you here on the live stream. And one of these days you'll have to come back and we'll have a chat like this and just talk through updates because it's fun. Sabina says, I have no idea what's going on, more than 2 screaming kids here, but just throwing in my goal. I'm going to get Zoic set up finally and still swinging for that 30,000 words. Those are great goals. And I feel like every month you're making progress at getting just that much closer to them. Stig says that he likes my confidence, and you know what? It might be irrational confidence. That's what I like to call people like wandering around in the world who are confident with no seemingly reason for it, like irrational confidence. I feel good being irrationally confident, even if it is irrational. Maybe it's not rational confidence. Maybe it is irrationally confident, but I feel like I can give Chris a run for his money. Sabina says, we have also decided to sell the house and move into an RV. Wow. So plenty of stuff for the blog. That is going to be really exciting and different and scary. And I am totally impressed and excited for you and can't wait to see updates on YouTube about how that goes and also how that plays out with your online business. Jesse says, it's nice chatting. Haven't been by in a while. You know, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, Jesse. I love hearing about how your business is going, and it's great that you were able to get by. Zach says, I've been working on the site. Now I have about 151 articles on the site. That I'm totally proud. You should be proud of yourself, and we'll be proud of you too, and I'll pat you on the back because I can't pat you in the back in person, which is awesome. Stig says, when I grow up, I want to be like Amelia. Well, I just can't imagine that will ever happen because that would assume that you would grow up. I mean, is that ever going to happen? Let's be real. And 151 is great. All right, everybody, I've got a lot of work to do and not much time to do it in. So I just want to say thank you for being here. It's a small group today, but I don't mind because it means I get to talk to all of you folks, and I'm sure that people will join later on the replay and put in their entries. How much traffic did Amelia's MIGA site get in the month of June? Let's see if anybody gets within 500 page views, and I'll have to think up some sort of prize if anybody does. Somebody may have already. So I guess if somebody has, then what we will do is just pick who got the closest overall, and that person will get bragging rights. Maybe I'll send you a WP Eagle t-shirt. It's great to see everybody. Sue and Banu and Margaret and Julie and Will and Chris and Zach and Keith and Jasper and everyone else who dropped in and or who will see this on the replay. I look forward to speaking with you next week. I'll be here. All right. Take care, everybody. See you later.